Larry Parrot, is it
Parrot Head Yachts.
Parrot Head Yachts. All right. So Larry Parrot Head Yachts. I'm guessing you do something with boats. Is my guess here.
We charter luxury yachts.
Okay.
We do not do fishing yachts.
Gotcha.
And that was a very specific and intentional design.
Okay.
When I was approached in 2020 by some friends who had been to Cabo San Lucas, and they had taken a yacht out for a cruise, I think 4 hours. Thought it was great. They came back and said, this was really cool. It'd be nice if we did that here in the States. And I said, yeah, that's pretty much what they do in LA and Fort Lauderdale and Miami and Clearwater. And, I started going through all that. And then as we were talking, I said, well, where is it not done so much? And I started looking. And right here, in fact, in doing my research, I found out between Pensacola and Panama City Beach, for every luxury yacht like what we do, taking folks out and letting them lay on the bow and get sun and watch the dolphins and do stuff like that, not fishing, because we don't do fishing. For every one like us, there are 1,030 fishing yachts. Wow. Between 35 and 75 feet.
Yeah.
That at least the state of Florida recognizes. So the market was wide open to do what we're doing,
right? Because
there was very little competition.
Right.
We started about a month after another one of our competitors, so we weren't the only ones thinking this.
Right.
And at that time, there were only 2 yachts in the harbor that were doing what we were talking about doing, and one of those was strictly part-time. It was just in the summer, because in the winter months they took the boat to the Caribbean, and then during the summer they'd come up here and rent it out. The other one was kind of here, but they would shut down in the winter months.
Right.
But they stayed here. So it was pretty easy to get into the market, and that's why we came down here.
Yeah, nice. So give me a little bit of backstory. You obviously found a niche available in the market here, or were able to kind of capitalize on that, which is awesome. That's you hit 1,030. Did I hear you right?
Somewhere around that. It was rounding it, but it was around 1,030 fishing vessels between 35 and 75 feet.
Yeah.
Because what a lot of people don't realize is the fishing fleet here in Destin is the largest commercial fishing fleet in North America.
I had no idea.
Yeah. It's massive.
It really, yeah.
Yeah.
If you go down Harbor Walk, it's just
one after the other after the other. Yeah.
A lot of cool pictures.
Yes. And then go across over to the island, over by Noriega Point. You look at all those, you take in like East Pass Marina and all of those other places down on Holiday Isle, and and go down to Panama City or over to Pensacola. There's just so many fishing vessels around here. And you'll see private yachts, but they aren't necessarily available for charter. They're owned by individuals, and they're sitting there waiting for them to come back down from Minnesota or wherever they happen to be, and take it out for 2 weeks and then come back and tie it up and show up 3 months later for another 2 weeks.
Right. So what drove you, I guess, to this area to do that? I know we were talking before we started the show, you did recording in St. Louis?
Well, yeah. I spent a number of years as a business consultant. I did the Fortune 500 stuff. I was a broker with E.F. Hutton for a while, and then they were bought by Shearson, which was an American Express company. So I ended up going to work for a different division of American Express, and then left there and actually started a software company in the early 90s.
Okay.
Then I turned a hobby, basically, and an issue with my vision. We've discussed the fact that I'm legally blind.
Yeah.
I started a little recording studio when I left American Express. I was writing business plans for visually impaired people.
Okay.
So as I would write the plan and do their spreadsheets and everything, I was thinking, you know what, they can't see any of this. So I put this little 450 square foot studio together It was a 12 by 18 room that was the live room.
Yeah.
Like we're sitting in here.
Yeah.
And then the other 12 by 18 room was the reception area / office / control room / all the other storage. And so I would write these business plans and then record them and put them on CD-ROM.
Okay.
So that the visually impaired client could listen to what they needed to listen to, but they could also deliver that CD-ROM to their investor or their banker or whatever, and they could actually pull things up on the screen and look at their financials and look at their projections.
Gotcha.
And so on. So it was kind of a cool thing, and so I was doing some of that. A buddy of mine who had he was a blues guitar player. He says, "Hey, I want to do something like the old Robert Johnson stuff. I'd like to come into the studio and just do me and a guitar in the room. And
Right.
we can just record that in 2-track.
Okay.
Yeah, we can make that happen." Well, he ended up selling, I don't know how many copies out of the trunk of his car. And the next thing I know, I started getting calls from other bands. "Hey, that was really cool. Can you do us?" I ended up ultimately with about 4,000 square feet, a purpose-built studio.
Oh, wow.
And had producers and engineers coming in from like Sony and Atlantic and Interscope coming into the studio. And of course, St. Louis was a hotbed for hip hop during that period of time. So you had Nelly and Chingy and all these guys that were also coming into the studio and working there. And then sold that out in 2012 to kind of go into semi-retirement.
Okay.
And but I had all that experience writing business plans, so I started just doing a little consulting with people here and there. And when this friend approaches me and says, "Hey, we had this really cool idea," or not an idea, but we had this experience, this really cool experience, and we started taking it from there. Where can we go with this? What can we do with it?
Right.
And that's when I started pulling all the data, like I'm writing a business plan, and I ended up literally writing a business plan about how could we go down there and start a yacht chartering company. And that's how we got here. We started, in fact, my wife and I came down February and March. Yes. No, I'm sorry. Last 2 weeks of February, first week of April.
Okay.
Or
March.
2 weeks of March and first week of April.
Okay.
Because right around April Fool's Day.
Gotcha.
But we came down here and just doing that walk down the street kind of research. We noticed a lot of ladies walking up and down Harbor Walk, sometimes with children, sometimes not, maybe 2 or 3 of them, or maybe even 4, all walking side by side. So my wife, Michelle, would say, "Go pretend like you're buying sunglasses." So I'd peer into the windows or whatever and say, she would approach these ladies and say, "Is there some sort of ladies convention or something going on here?" No. We're just, the boys are out on a fishing boat and they left us here to shop. "Well, wouldn't you like to be out on the yacht?" "Yeah, but not that kind of yacht. We want to be on, So it was validation that there was an opportunity down here. So anyway, in June, I moved down and we launched the company June of 21, right in the middle of COVID.
Yeah, great time to launch launch an outdoor company. Yeah. Very nice. So when you say you charter private yachts, do you have your own fleet, or is this like owners that are...
You can call it a fleet. We own Parrot Head Yachts is the customer facing. We do all the chartering. We do all that sort of stuff. We have the interactions with the customers,
right? And
that's what the world knows about. Behind the scenes, there are a couple of other companies. One that actually owns one of the yachts that we charter out. The other company actually does yacht management and maintenance, and they have other boats that we also charter out.
Gotcha.
So right now we have a 52-foot vessel that we charter out and a 43-foot. Those two are very nice luxury yachts. Then we also have, just putting into service this year, we have a 2-level catamaran that has a sliding board, and it's the perfect thing to go to Crab Island, except that it also has a head. It has a bathroom there, and it also has a little kitchenette and seating for 12 in the front. So it's 2 steps up from a pontoon, but it's not quite to the yacht level. So it fits a niche. Because we're constantly getting calls about it. Why don't it cost to go to Crab Island for 4 hours? Yeah. You don't necessarily want to do that on a boat that's costing $1,200, $600 an hour not counting the crew, just to go out to Crab Island, that's a little stiff for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So we wanted to have something that we could offer them. And then we are negotiating with somebody right now for a jet boat that would seat 8 people. And that's one just to take people out and scare the bejesus out of them for an hour and then bring them back. 75 miles an hour.
Nice. That's fast on water.
That's cooking.
That's real fast. I don't think a lot of people realize that you get on the water. I mean, I've been, towed behind on skis going 40 before, and that's fast.
It's moving.
It's real fast.
Yeah.
Well, I'll call it a fleet. That's a 100% more of a fleet than I have. I don't know how many of those.
And then there are a couple of other boats that we do charter out. If things are full with what we're doing, June and July, that happens a lot. We're booked solid. So at that point, there are some other boats in town that I can call them up and say, hey, are you available for a 4-hour or whatever? And then we can book them as well. And then they just pay us a fee for booking them.
So you said that you can rent out the boat and there's a crew that comes along with it. So if someone comes in and rents one of these yachts, no one's having to go get their license.
Not a chance. No, in fact, every single trip that goes out, there will be a captain and a mate.
Okay.
And the captain has to be at least a master captain with the U.S. Coast Guard license, master captain. The mate has to have at least a captain's license, which would be a 25. Everything's based on tons, 25, 50, 100, 200, so on and so forth. The captains that we have are 100 and 200 master captains. The mates that we put on are at least a 25 ton, and sometimes they are even a 50-ton master captain, because we want it to be as safe and secure as possible when those passengers go out. And if something were to happen, God forbid, and this is wood, but if something were to happen to the guy that's at the helm, then we know that the second guy on board is capable of getting that vessel back in.
Right. Yeah.
You never want to put anybody in the position of, does anybody know how to drive a boat?
Yeah.
So anyway, we have a really good, and then there are some trips that we'll do, like we do an 8-hour.
Okay.
We'll take people from Destin all the way over to Pensacola, or we'll take them to Panama City Beach. And on those trips, we usually provide the food and all that sort of thing, and we'll actually have a steward on board, or stewardess. But there will be somebody serving drinks and doing things like that.
Gotcha.
Passengers have to bring their own hard liquor. We don't do that.
Okay.
And rule number 1 is take your shoes off when you get on the boat.
Okay.
Rule number 2 is don't come on here with anything red. No red wine, no fruit juice, fruit juices, no red velvet cake. Red just doesn't come out of fiberglass. So other than that, the third rule is have a really, really great time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I gotta go check it out now. I gotta go.
It's a lot. We had a fantastic party this past Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
We had a group on. It was a big launch event for a blog, and it was actually sponsored by Spotify.
Okay.
And we took 12 ladies out, and it looked like somebody had thrown a Pepto-Bismol all over because they're all wearing this pink, and it was a fantastic time. We just had a blast, and they were broadcasting live from the boat and all that sort of stuff. And I think, in fact, they said on TikTok they had 12,000 people viewing it at a particular time. So, and they don't even have the metrics for the other places. So we love doing stuff like that.
Right.
That's a lot of fun, taking folks out. We provide an awful lot of services that others don't, or that they don't really promote too much. But we love doing bachelorette parties, family get-togethers. We even do Ashes at Sea.
Okay.
So we've had several families call us up. Grandma or Grandpa was in the Air Force, or he was in the Navy, and he always wanted to be, great. Bring him out, and we'll take everybody on.
That's awesome. How many people fit on? Well, you said you got a 50-something and a 40-something.
The 52-footer, we are limited by the Coast Guard. We could put more passengers on it, but the Coast Guard limits us to. We do what's called a bareboat charter, which is why they don't. They rent the boat from us. They pay the crew completely separately.
Okay.
And they choose the captain they want to use from the list that we have, and they choose, and then the captain chooses what mate is going to be on board. And in a bareboat process, you can have the charterer and 12 guests.
Okay.
So technically, we can put 13 passengers on board. We could do the same thing with the galleon, with the 43-foot galleon, but 12 people in that boat would be a little uncomfortable because it's 10 feet shorter and
Right.
it's 2 feet more narrow. It's a 14-foot beam versus a 16-foot beam, the width of the vessel. So when you put those two together, that's a lot of extra square footage that one boat has that the other one does not.
Right.
So we kind of tend to maximize the galleon at 10 passengers. 8 is a very good number.
Gotcha.
So we do 12. We say 12 and 8 is a rule of thumb.
Right. Okay. So you are able to take these out. You said, you'll provide not hard liquor and nothing red, but drinks, food on the longer charters.
Fiji waters.
Okay.
We don't, we make sure that it's Fiji water, it's nice water. And ironically, it's a little inside information. Square bottles. They don't roll around in the refrigerators when they're out inside. Okay? So it makes sense.
Yeah.
But Fiji water, and then all the Coke products, including Coke Zero. There are a lot more people doing Coke Zero these days now, but we do Coke, Diet Coke, Sprite, Diet Sprite, Canada Dry Ginger Ale. All of those sorts of things are on board. Peanuts, pretzels, popcorn, potato chips, all of that comes with the process.
Is there, I'm probably going to use the wrong word here, but galley is what I think the word is,
It is
right?
absolutely.
Okay, so it's like a little kitchen, food, stuff
Both
like that.
vessels have a nice galley. The 52-footer has a galley and salon with reclining leather seats and all of that sort of stuff. And then there is a refrigerator and ice maker below decks, as well as a wine cooler and a cook stove and a convection oven. That's all on the 52-footer. On the 43-footer, and then on the 52-footer as well, up in the cockpit, which is the big area in the back where everybody usually sits to watch the dolphins and things like that. There's also a refrigerator and ice maker there as well, and a barbecue grill.
Okay.
And another sink, and to wash things off. So there's a lot going on that 52-footer. On the 43-footer, we do have a galley. It's called a galley below, which you have to go down 2 or 3 steps, and then the galley is there.
Okay.
And it's much smaller, but still refrigerator, freezer, all that sort of stuff, microwave. So anything you want to do there, it has the capabilities of doing it.
Gotcha.
But that's the one. That's the refrigeration and all of that sort of stuff is in that galley. We don't have that in the cockpit on the.
If someone's booking, and they're coming from out of town, so they're not trying to get here and then go to Whole Foods or something before showing up, will you guys stock it with the things they need?
We can do that. There's obviously an extra charge for us to run that because it takes somebody to go out there, pick it up, but what we typically do is I think the last structure that we did on that, it's a 20% upcharge. So if it's $100 worth of groceries, and it's $120 to the customer.
Okay.
But it's just a little fee for us to go out and get that. Yeah. Or if they have, one of the things that we typically try to ask, is there anybody with any allergies? We try to make sure that, if we keep things off the boat, they're going to cause a problem.
You want everyone to be comfortable while they're there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And everything, by the way, is individually packaged. So it's small bags. We don't pour a bowl of popcorn out. Right. Everybody gets a bag of popcorn. That sort of stuff. And the peanuts obviously are sealed. We've also done, like when we do birthday parties, we'll make sure that there's a birthday cake on board, and wedding proposal, or not wedding proposals, but I guess proposals. That has become kind of a cool thing for us too, because the first one we were actually asked to do, Joshua, my son, who's also our marketing and sales guy, he went out and bought a whole bunch of artificial rose petals.
Okay.
And when you get on the Gigi Marie, which is the 52-footer, you have to go down through what's called a companionway, which is a big opening, and then you go down these steps, about 5 steps, and then you're below decks where the salon and the galley and all of that sort of stuff is. When the two got on board, he had some nice music playing and everything, and then as soon as the gentleman went down first, and when she came down the steps, the entire floor was red with these rose petals everywhere, and he's on his knee.
Cool.
with the ring.
Yeah.
And it's like, bing, you know,
Yeah.
and it just, they started talking about it. And from that point on, we've had a lot of people contacting us about doing, doing their proposal there.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a cool thing too.
Yeah, that's awesome. As long as they say yes, right?
Yeah, it could be a little pricey. We literally this past June, we had a guy call us and he goes, "Are you available this afternoon?" And we're like, there is some time, but it's right around sunset. Or no, it wasn't June. It was in November. It was November. I'm sorry. And because I was in St. Louis for a wedding. And when I got this call, so I'm trying to do all of this stuff remotely. And I said, yeah, we do have some time around 4:30. So it's right around sunset, if that would work. And he goes, it would be perfect. He said, I need the boat for 2 hours because I want to propose to my girlfriend.
Okay.
And I said, oh. And we had like 2 hours to prepare for all this. And I said, well, and as he starts telling me his email address and his number, and I'm trying to book all this stuff, and I said, well, where are you from? He's from Texas.
Okay.
She is from Orlando. And I said, well, where are you right now? Well, we're staying at the Emerald Grand. And so literally we had 2 hours to get all this prepared and get it down there. And we finally got it done. So it was just a cool thing that they just, spur of the moment. They're like, okay, this is just too good. We just can't pass this up. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
They called and made it happen.
Well, that's very cool. It's awesome that you guys were able to rally and get it together for them too.
That's our desire, is to try to. It's unwritten, and it's just kind of the philosophy of all the people that work with us. But we attempt to be at least 2 steps above what the customer would expect. Now, you don't want to tell them that because you want to set expectations, and there is no way you can meet, let alone exceed, overstated expectations. But internally, we fight really hard to just, overwhelm them with, holy cow, we didn't expect that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's very awesome. Is it a service that people have to come to you, or, obviously if you haven't been to the Emerald Coast, come because it's beautiful, but, there's kind of docks and places all along the coast. So are you able to go to people?
We go to people digitally.
Okay.
Facebook and Google are probably our key components, because on Facebook we can reach out and do ads, targeting specific zip codes. Google, we can do the same thing, but it's different. Facebook, you're going out and touching someone. With Google, you're waving your banners and say, come and touch us, come and find us. So we're trying to hit both sides of that, and it's worked pretty well for us. We have 5-star ratings, except for one. we have one that was not, and it turns out that it was. She gave us 2 stars. I'll give her that. Yeah. But she called up, after the whole thing was. It's a long story and not worth going into, but she calls up and wants a refund. And this was one of those 8 hours.
Right.
And it was a long and frustrating thing, and she wanted her money back. And then it turns out when we said, well, we'll give a partial refund because you were out there for 7 of the 8 hours. They came back because one of their friends got very badly sunburned, and it was their call to come back. So, we'll give you some money back. So we'll just credit the credit card. And she's like, oh no, I want you to send a check to this address. And we're like, yeah, it's not going to happen, because she was trying to get some money, and someone else had paid for the trip. She didn't. It was a gift to her, and then she's wanting us to send her money.
Gotcha.
That's not how it works.
Yeah.
So that's the only one that we have on there that's not a 5-star rating. So
a little person accountability on the sunburn too.
Yep.
It's not real hard to put sunscreen on or wear a sun shirt or
Yeah.
I think people maybe don't realize how quickly you get burned out on the water, but it's quick.
Yeah, and especially down here, because that quartz, it's not sand like you have on normal beaches around here. Right. It's quartz. So it reflects. You can sit under a 20-foot umbrella or a canopy and you're still going to get a sunburn if the sun is reflecting off that quartz.
Yeah, I mean it's hitting you from all angles, and it happens fast if you're not protected from something. Those light sun shirts are lifesavers out here in the summer.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
And I've got this Irish phosphorescent glow in the dark skin, right? So it really nails me.
Yeah, absolutely. So people have to come to where the boats are located to start their tour.
They do.
Okay.
What will happen? The typical process is somebody finds us on the internet. That may be through a Google search, or a friend told them. We do get a lot of referrals from people who have already been on the trip, and it's surprising how many people will go out. They'll go out like on a Tuesday or a Wednesday to see the dolphins in the afternoon, and then they'll call Thursday and say, "Do you have any time tomorrow or Saturday that we could go out for a sunset?" And they'll rebook.
Yeah.
So we've done a lot of two people in the same week,
Gotcha.
or the same person twice in a week. But anyway, if they get on the website right now, you can book right there, and we just get an email going, "Hey, Micah booked for next Thursday at 4:00. Okay, great, because it shows you what the availability is and which boat and all that sort of stuff, and you can choose what package you want to get involved in. Most of the time, however, what happens is people call us. They get on, they see the boats, they see the pictures and all that sort of stuff, and they're just like, "Oh my gosh!" And it's sensory overload.
Right.
So they'll call up and go, "Okay, here's what we'd like to do. Can we do that?" And then we walk them through the process of how to make that happen. And so then they book. We set the date. Then they get an email immediately. When you click that button, within 30 seconds, you have an email and a text on your phone. Then over the next however long it takes, if your charter is in 48 hours, you're still going to be getting this communication. Here's where to park. Here's where we are. Here's how to get there. Here are directions.
Right.
And then we will meet you, and we meet everybody there's a place down on Harbor Walk called Beignets and Brew. And are you familiar with it?
Mm-hmm.
Great place. Well, we meet everybody there and have them sign their paperwork, and then we walk right out that pier to the end of that pier, and that's where we load all of our passengers.
Okay.
And then they are dropped back off there.
Gotcha.
So we meet somebody from the company is there. They don't have to find their way down. We have all the paperwork signed right there.
Right.
We are making some changes there within the next probably 3 weeks. Everything's going to be digital. So when they show up, it's a pad.
Right.
And okay, here, initial here, initial here, initial here, boom, next person, initial here, initial here. And that way we keep it all in a digital world. But we got all the paperwork, all the documentation and everything done on site, because just like you were talking about yesterday, sometimes people don't show up.
Yeah.
So there's no reason for us to be sitting there with a ream of paper for people to sign, and they're not there. But then once we've done that, somebody from the company will walk them out to the boat, hand them over to the crew.
Okay.
Once the customer gets on board, the first thing they do is pay the captain. And he then makes sure that the mate is also taken care of.
Right.
Then they untie and they go out and do whatever you've paid them to do.
Gotcha.
As long as it's legal, ethical, moral,
Right.
and we leave the morality up to you to an extent.
Right.
But no, we don't allow firearms or knives or anything like that. I don't mind knives, but we've had a couple of people cut our seats accidentally because they sat down and poked a hole.
Right.
So we're very cautious about that. We certainly firearms are not allowed. Drugs are obviously not allowed.
Right.
That can cost us our license and even our boat, so we never allow that on board. They're more than welcome to bring alcohol on, because if it's what they purchased and that's what they want to drink, more power to you.
Right.
In fact, our mate will probably go down there. One of our mates actually is also a bartender.
Okay.
So he'll go down there and he'll mix you up some of the coolest drinks ever. We have all the goodies, we just don't have the spirits to go in it. So
Right.
You bring the spirits, he'll bring the talent.
Cool.
And so we do a lot of that stuff as well.
Very
But
nice.
that's how all that works. When you come back, there is a company representative standing there to help you off the boat and walk you back down to your
Okay.
car.
Very nice.
So it's very much a hands-on relationship.
Yeah. Is the destination that people go to, is that something that they get to dictate with the captain and crew?
They can within reason. And that's one of the questions that we get a lot.
Yeah.
So good question. There are times when they may want to go out in the Gulf, so they think. Water is a lot different in the harbor and in the bay than it is out in the Gulf.
Yeah.
We'll take you out there if you're aware of what's about to happen.
Right.
But when you can have, in fact, just recently, we have right now we have extremely low tides because it's winter, and this may come as a shock to some people, but the Earth tilts, and when it does, water moves.
Right.
So, like right now, you can see the dirt on Crab Island.
Right.
You know, give that another month and you won't be able to, and give it 3 months and you'll be waist deep on Crab Island. So, but you may have very low water here, but also that could mean that water is really stirring up out in the Gulf, and you just don't want to be out there because it would be too rough. So, to that extent, the captain can make that call. You know, well, we want to go over here. You think you do, but you really don't, and here's why.
Right.
However, I can give you an experience over here or over here or over here. And most people will get on and they'll say, we don't know the area.
Right.
You just take us, take us wherever it's safe.
Right.
And all of those decisions are made based on safety. They have, that is the single one thing. Like for canceling trips, this is another question that we get, can we cancel? Yeah. If within 30 days of the date of your trip, you get 100% refund. If it's within 14 days, you get a half a refund, because now it's getting really hard for us to rebook your time.
Right.
And if it's within 7 days, there is no refund under any circumstances.
Right.
Or 7 days or under. The other thing is, if there is a small vessel warning, which means if you're under 100 feet, you cannot leave the harbor. In a case like that, which is a Coast Guard call, or in the case of National Weather Service issuing a severe weather alert with high winds or something like that, in those two cases, it's 100% refund, even if it's that day, because sometimes you don't know that it is until that day.
That was going to be my next question. Was with Florida, we get storms that pop up in the afternoon out of here, and what's the protocol there? So. Yeah. That's good to know. So anyone who's listening, by the way, who has not been to this bay or this area, there's no shortage of wildlife in the bay. You can still see anything you're going to see in the Gulf. You can still see, in the bay. So it's, I guess I just don't want people to think like, oh, I can't go out in the Gulf, therefore it's not the same experience. Like, it's a slightly different, but you're just as likely to see dolphins in the bay as you are out in the Gulf.
Just recently, to your point, and you're absolutely right, and not just dolphins, sharks, manatees, jellyfish, but we're doing this little thing where we're promoting to get more people following us on Instagram. Okay. And so for every new follower, we add another, I forgot what it is, an inch or a foot or whatever. But we have Corey is our social media guru. She's just so cool, and you'll see her a lot on Instagram. But we're doing this thing for every new person or every group of new people. For it's an inch or a foot or whatever it is. We walk every day. So if we got 300 new followers this day, we don't just walk that 300 feet or whatever it is. We walk the 2,000 plus 300 feet, and then more. 300 more. The next day we walk 2,600 feet, and so on and so forth. And her husband. These are my partners, by the way. They own half of the company that owns the boat, and we've got this great big rubber parrot head. So he puts that on, and he's out there. He's the parrot, right? And so they're out doing all that. Well, the other day she's doing this. Hey, it's I think it was day 3 or day 4, and she's standing at the end of the pier where we pick up passengers. And while she's talking, behind her, this dolphin just comes out of the water,
Yeah.
right? It's like, and it costs a lot of money. Those dolphins are expensive. They bargain really, really well. No, obviously it was an accident, but it was such a fortuitous accident because it was perfect. We got so many people commenting. There's a dolphin behind her. They're always around.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're deeper, sometimes they're not. But there's an entire, I think there are actually 2 pods of dolphins that Destin Harbor is their home.
Yeah.
It's an estuary.
Right.
So they're safe. They know it.
Yeah. My wife worked at the boathouse landing up in Niceville. Niceville might be Valparaiso technically, but it's on the water.
Sure.
So almost every day at work, almost every day without fail, you see dolphins going through. I'm in the water a lot. I like the water, so they'll be close enough that I'll stick my head underwater and I can hear them talking to each other. We live over in Fred Gannon State Park up in Niceville, and they're there all the time. We can see them constantly. So there's no shortage of wildlife. If you're staying in the harbor or in the bay. So it's definitely nice. That's awesome. Well, very cool. What else you got? What else you doing?
Oh my gosh. Well, okay. So to the specialty side of stuff, one of the things that we are doing now, that we wanted to do something that's, everybody down here can offer you to see dolphins. There are a lot of people who can take you out to see dolphins, and the dolphins are more than cooperative. Some boats perhaps better than others. We are trying to determine if it's prop pitch and frequencies, or if it's, I know if we go out to a particular spot where we know the dolphins hang out a lot, and we hit our bow thruster 2 shorts and a long, they just they'll swim right up to the boat.
That's wild.
Also, we have a very specific rotations per minute. We know if we get our engines to a certain speed coming into the east, what we call down here East Pass for those,
right?
But we'll go out into the Gulf and then start coming in, because we know there's a big pod out there. And as we start coming in, we hit this certain RPMs, and they will there are dozens of them that just keep jumping and following us and following us and following us until we finally have to slow down because we're going into a no wake zone or a speed zone, and we have to slow down. And the dolphins are like, hey. Yeah. So they're having fun. A lot of people do that. But what we're trying to do is take things up a couple of other notches. One of the things that we are starting here very, very soon, and we're working with a company called Forte to provide this, but we're going to be doing whiskey and chocolate pairings at sunset. Okay. And it'll be a 2-hour charter, and we're going to have very unique and unusual whiskeys you may or may not have even heard of. And then chocolates that we're trying to source locally. It turns out that here in the Panhandle, there are several chocolatiers that are very small, very private batch, small batch private providers. So we're trying to work all that out. We're also going to be doing tequila flights.
Okay.
And then probably the coolest, when I mentioned wine tastings, I thought that would really catch the ladies. I thought, oh, yeah. They're like, oh, okay. And we're also doing chocolate and whiskey. Yes! They're more women are excited about that than the guys are. Yeah. And I guess it's the chocolate, but maybe not.
My wife very recently, I drink whiskey, you know what I mean? That's my drink of choice. And I'll drink it neat, just straight. And she's always been like, well, mix it, or if there's nothing else, But I probably within the last 6 months, she's like, can I have some of yours? I'm like, yeah. Have at it,
Now, are you an EY or a Y guy? Are you bourbon or are you Scotch?
I'm more bourbon.
Okay. Yeah. See, I'm a Scotch guy. Okay. So there is no E in whiskey. But and that's one of the things that we're trying to do, because I have found out that even Scotch, because it's considered drier, it's not nearly as sweet as bourbon and things like that, but it pairs very, very nicely with some of the chocolates. So we're playing around with that. Probably the big thing that we're doing, the very cool thing. And this is super exclusive. We only do this 3 nights a month. That's the last Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of every month, and only 6 passengers. It is a 5-course Italian dinner prepared before your very eyes from course 1 to course 5. It includes all the wines and everything that go along with it, paired to that specific entree or that particular salad or dessert or whatever. And it is prepared by two chefs from Milan, Italy, Massimo and Elisabetta Tundo. And they are extraordinary. And there's some video that's going to start showing up pretty soon on some of the social media stuff, that if it isn't already out there, about how all of this works. But it's only 6 people. It is only those 3 nights, and it ain't cheap. It runs between $600 and $700 a person.
I got a great idea for my Christmas party this year.
and it's a 4-hour start to finish. From the time you board the vessel, you're being served, whether it's the antipasti and the prosecco to go with that, and then all the way down to you end up on the bow having dessert and the wine that goes with that as well. It is an extraordinary event. And when I tell people $700 a person, they're like, oh my God, that's a lot of money. But then you think about it, that's $4,200 for a 4-hour charter with all of the food, cooling. It is literally right in front of you that all this is being prepared. It's an extraordinary event.
Well, and I think a lot of people, they're just like, well, it's a boat and it's dinner. It's like, but it's an experience, and it's experience. It's kind of like why people pay so much to go to Disney. It's like, you just can't get it anywhere else. You know what I mean? You're paying for that experience. You're not paying for a roller coaster. Mm-hmm. You're paying for the whole experience, which is really cool.
Well, there's another point to it, just real quick. Yeah. Everything that they serve in this meal comes from Italy. They even have their semolina flour imported to make the pastas.
I need to talk to them. I was just looking at where to get good flour. I'm trying to import some somewhere. Yeah. When you say that one was 6, right?
6 passengers, that's it. And it is an all-inclusive. So when you pay that price, you're paying for the boat, you're paying for the crew, you're paying for the chefs, you're paying for the groceries, which are...
they're coming from Italy.
Well, one of the things that the reason it goes from 6 to 700, it depends on what the menu entails. But at that $700 level, they're even doing shaved white truffles, and those things are like $6,000 a pound. Or maybe that's a kilo, but it doesn't matter. That's a lot of money. Right. And I'm like, shave that thing so it only has one side. if we're putting that kind of money in it. And she's like, oh no, you cannot do that. It's going to be, they are extraordinary people, and it's an extraordinary event. But it will be things that people just aren't going to walk into the average. They won't even walk into a lot of high-end restaurants and get some of the things that they are preparing.
Right. With any of the charters, specifically that one, since we're talking about it, if the boat holds 6 or 8 or 12 or whatever package someone chooses to pay for, and they're only a party of 4, will you fill the other seats, or is it always exclusive to that group?
It is exclusive to that group. In fact, a classic case is these proposals. Mm-hmm. It's 2 people.
Right. So
they don't
full
want
price, I'm guessing. Right.
Yeah. It's we don't overwhelm them, but it's the 52-footer is $600 an hour, plus the crew. So it's costing them $7.25 an hour to be out there. So for $1,500, throw in a tip or whatever for the crew. For $1,500, that's a once in a lifetime. We hope. Bless them. But it's a once in a lifetime opportunity, and it is so unique. Right. That you could drop to your knee at the Marina Cafe or wherever, and all that is wonderful, and it's a beautiful event. But to do that on a vessel, and with the surprise that comes with it, not only the rose petals, but perhaps even a nice cake or some sort of, with a bottle of champagne. We can make all those arrangements for the customer and have everything ready so that they've got, it's an event for them.
Right.
And that's the difference. They don't have to worry about it. They just, they call up, just like the ashes at sea. They just call us, hey, we've got this situation. Can you handle it? And we'll take it from here. We got you covered.
That's awesome. That's very cool. Any
and I hate to conflate. Well, I hate to conflate proposing to your best girl and ashes at sea. 2 different events, obviously different spans in your lifestyle, or in your lifespan. But it just happens that they both work the same way.
Right. And they're both events where you probably want some exclusivity.
Very much so.
involved, right? You know, you can propose anywhere, you can propose in a group of people. But if I want a private proposal, I want to make sure that that boat that I'm chartering isn't also going to have. I don't want to be doing the proposal while someone else on the other end of the boat's trying to do the ashes. Like that's not the good scenario you want. So, that's nice. Any future plans to bring on more a larger fleet? We'll call it?
The big plan, the next step is to have a larger vessel somewhere in the 65 to 70 foot class that we're going to be doing overnight stuff,
Oh, okay.
like a 3-night over to New Orleans or an 8-night round trip to Key West.
Gotcha.
So 3 nights down, 2 nights at anchor, 3 nights back. That's a little further down the road, and what we don't want to do in expanding a fleet here, you can eventually reach a point where it's oversaturated.
Right.
There are some good folks out there who are doing business, and they're competitors, but hopefully they're friendly competitors.
Right.
And I've put we had damage on the boat in the fall of 22, and we weren't able to take our vessel out.
Is that Sandy? Hurricane Sandy?
No. This had nothing to do with
okay.
hurricanes or anything like that. It was just an incident that occurred with basically either we're not sure what happened at this point because it hasn't been clarified, but either the boat was run aground or it ran over something and did a lot of damage to the props and the rudders and everything. So at that point, the boat was inoperable. And so I was putting people on other people's boats.
Gotcha.
And we want to keep that relationship. We want to have
Right.
those friends out there because otherwise we're just saying, nope, sorry, nope, sorry,
Right.
nope, sorry. And that's difficult to do.
Yeah.
So we want to try to keep that friendly relationship and
Yeah.
work with the others. We put the old, it's so cliche, but all ships rise with the tide.
Yeah.
Right? And if you start competing with somebody else, then you're just creating a problem.
Right.
Competing in a negative way.
Right.
Okay.
Well, and the more people that are doing it and providing these really great experiences, now our town starts to become known. Destin is known for go down to Destin. There's these great experiences, and now you have more people coming in that brings everyone up, like you said. Something that reminded me, I wanted to ask you earlier when you said you're considering doing overnights and being at anchor.
We would be at anchor. Yes.
Okay.
So
I'm trying to
Key West
close,
is exactly you drop anchor and then you take a little shuttle
Right.
over to land.
Is there an opportunity for someone who does say just around here a local one like a 4-hour if they bring snorkeling equipment? I mean, can they allowed to get in the water?
They are allowed to get in the
Okay.
water, and we will pull up at Crab Island. We take people over to Crab Island a lot. They get off there. There are all kinds of opportunities for them. We carry noodles and blow up pads and things.
Okay.
10 by 10. They call them air docks.
Yeah.
But we blow those things up and they can get out on there. We keep them tethered to the vessel so
Yeah.
they can float over somewhere and then still pull themselves
Right.
pull themselves back. So yeah, again, going back to the very early conversations, but safety is our single greatest concern. So
Right.
we make sure that we're keeping an eye on them. But yeah, if they want to snorkel, if they want to swim, we can make arrangements for other providers who have, for instance, ski-doos or something like that. They can meet us out there, but it's a logistical concern because where are we going to be, and then how do they deliver that product to us? So
Right.
if you own a ski-doo company or a jet ski company, and you take the jet ski out there and go, hey, here you go. Now how do you get back?
Right.
So we're trying to figure those things out.
Right.
We don't want to load the boat up unless people specifically ask for it, and then you start getting into all kinds of insurance liabilities and
Right.
So what we offer is cool, it's fun, and if they want to do some additional things, we can certainly point them in the direction of the people that can provide that service, and that's basically how we do it.
Gotcha. Very cool. Well, before I let you go, you guys just got named for an award, right? Is that right?
Yes, we VIP Destin magazine, which is
Okay.
a really cool magazine. You're aware of
Yeah.
It's in the industry, they would call it a high-class rag. It is all glossy. It is all full color from cover to cover and so on and so forth. And every year they do I guess you could call it a contest, because the first thing that has to happen is people have to log onto their website and nominate you for a particular award, or they call it the best in Destin.
Okay.
And then there's everything from the best attorney to the best hairdresser to the best wedding planner and so on and so forth. And we fall under their entertainment category. I think we're more hospitality, but that's where they happen to have all the yacht services, and everything from fishing yachts to what we do is in there, and even the tikis.
Right.
So this year we apparently got some very high nominations for Girls Night Out. We were actually nominated in 4 categories.
Okay.
But the one that we were nominated the most in was Girls Night Out. And once you're nominated, then they open the door for voting.
Okay.
And then the votes start coming in. And where the one that you got the highest votes in is you win that. Well, for 2024, we are the best in Destin for a Girls Night Out.
There you go.
And we're very excited about that. That announcement will be made, and this better not be airing before.
Well, I promise you.
Before February 6th. That announcement will be made February 6th, and then at that point, we're able to let the cat out of the bag.
Yeah.
So
we'll air this February 7th. So we'll say yesterday we announced that
Yes.
you got 2024 in Destin Girls Night Out.
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, if you're in town, come out and check it out. Apparently, that's the thing to do.
You know, anybody, if you are planning to come to Destin, if you've already been to Destin and you know family who are coming to Destin. But I should also mention this, just as an aside. If the charterer that is contacting us is a first responder, or they are retired or active military, it's an immediate 20% discount on the vessel.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
That's
that is something very, very important to us. My wife is a nurse, and I've had a lot of family who have. Because of my eyesight, being this blind, I was unable to serve, and it was disappointing to me. But a lot of heroes in my family. Some who came home, some who didn't, and we want to honor those folks. So,
well, someone who did 12 years in the Air Force, I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
That's awesome. That's really nice, especially, it makes it feel like, people recognizing it's nice. So appreciate it.
And there's a great big giant American flag flying from the back of our boat.
Love it. I love it. If someone's coming down to Destin or Emerald Coast, other than going at Parrot Head Yachts and getting a sweet night out, what do you recommend them to do?
Oh my gosh.
What are your
first of all,
favorite
everybody likes to eat.
Yep.
And we have a few really, really good favorites around here. The Marina Cafe is one of my absolute favorites. And a little insider thing here for all the visitors that are coming. If you go to the Marina Cafe between 5 and 6 p.m., they do BOGO.
Okay.
The way I describe the menu there is, on the left is all the meat, that's the pork and the beef and the chicken. On the right was swimming this morning.
Okay.
That's all the fish. That may not be completely true, or it may not be accurate, but it's true, right?
Right.
So anyway, all the fish over here. So I love their pork chop. It's an incredible pork chop, but they also have a stuffed fish with andouille sausage and things like that over there. Whatever. If I was to pick a $48 item and then my wife picks a $60 item, it's $60 for our entrees.
Nice.
So whatever the less expensive is,
right,
that one's free.
Yeah.
That's between 5 and 6. No reservations. You have to be at the door when it opens, and you can get in there. They also have a really great happy hour. There's some great pricing there as well, in between 5 and 6.
That's the Marina Cafe.
So that's the Marina Cafe, and although it says cafe, trust me, it's a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Obviously, it does linen tablecloths and uniformed waiters, and it's a beautiful place with a view to die for. not necessarily number two, but different circumstances, is Louisiana Land Yacht. Again, one of those, they don't take reservations. You have to be at the door when it opens to be seated.
Right.
And if you get there late, you're going to be standing in line for a long time and may not even be seated. I've seen that happen to people. But it's extraordinary. Again, incredible views. You get to watch the sunset through those big windows, and you're looking at all these boats tied up, and it's a gorgeous place. If you like Italian food, I'm a big fan of Mimo's. And not very far from either one of those restaurants.
Yeah.
We got some cool breakfast places around here. Some that are hidden, like Destin Cafe is an awesome little place. It's inexpensive and it's fun to get to. Then there's Big Red, which is if you want biscuits and gravy and good old
familiar with Big Red. I don't think
at Airport and 98.
Okay.
Big silver. Yeah. So there are a lot of places around here. And of course, like typical South, every 100 feet there's a Waffle House. They'll have one on each end of a block.
Yeah.
It seems like that, but with lots of Waffle Houses here. But those are two great places to eat. The Gulfarium, you gotta go. If you've got kids anywhere under the age of 85, you gotta take them to the Gulfarium because it's just extraordinary.
I think they just opened up that big expansion too.
Yes, they
did.
I
believe that's actually, I haven't been since they made it accessible, but I heard, I don't know, probably just a few weeks ago that they opened that up.
It was not that long ago. And it is just unreal what they are doing there. It's just such a cool place. In the area, any drive just along scenic 98.
Yeah.
And you go out to Miramar and just take scenic 98 and go like 5 miles an hour because you're, depending on which direction you're going, but you've got the Gulf of Mexico to one side of you and all these beautiful vacation homes and stuff to the other side. And it is so peaceful and so beautiful there. So it's a lot of fun to do that. And
I like taking bikes down there and riding the beachfront highway
and that's something a lot of people don't know about is you can rent bikes. There are several places here in town where you can rent a bicycle, and Destin is a town that's 7 miles long and about 1.5 miles wide, maybe 2 miles at its widest point. It's not very big, and there are only roughly 17,000 people who live here who call this home.
Right.
But on any given day, from Memorial Day to Labor Day, there'll be 300,000, 400,000 people here.
Yeah.
About 6 million people come through here in a year. So, which is kind of funny because at about 7:30 in the morning, if you're taking a shower, everybody just flushed because the water pressure dropped just slightly in the summer. But it's a great little town. It's a fun town, but it's all flat. So it's easy to do bicycles. Yep. It's easy to do walking. I love to walk, and it's a compact little place.
Yeah.
And don't forget to go to the Commons. Destin Commons is our shopping center kind of thing around here, and it is really a cool place just because of the architecture and the atmosphere. And
right.
There's a little something for everybody there. And a couple of pretty good places to eat too. If you're a sushi person, you got you go there, which is their sushi is artwork.
Yeah,
it's just exceptional. Oh my gosh! And then you got little places that are out that you don't see it because it's kind of back behind it, like Fish On. Yeah. It's fresh. All the stuff there is fresh. The owner is one of the coolest guys. He's just a really nice fellow. And he's almost always there and probably the guy who's bringing your food out to your table.
Right.
Those, this is off the top of my head, but oh my gosh, there's just so much wonderful stuff here. Yeah. And of course, you can't get out of talking about Destin without talking about McGuire's. And we have a lot of, everybody's like, oh yeah, we'll go for, corned beef and cabbage when St. Patrick's Day rolls around. Well, it's a steakhouse that also does all this other stuff.
It's a very good steakhouse. It is by the way. It's not just a steakhouse. They do a very good job with it.
Absolutely. So when you go there, don't go for corned beef and cabbage. Go for the steaks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and bring a flashlight.
It
It is so
It
dark
does.
in there.
Sign a dollar bill, put it on the wall.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I forgot how many tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands they have hanging on the wall.
I asked someone when I was working there, they said they had insurance for $3 million just on the money, which, I mean, that pizza house, part of McGuire's burned down, 2 years ago now, or something like that.
Yes,
So
that's right.
that insurance might have come in handy when that happened. I don't think they had a whole lot of cash in the pizza house side, but yeah, it was interesting. I'm sure they were a little nervous on that one.
Yeah. Well, at this point, I would say definitely look us up at parrotheadyachts.com.
Okay.
You don't even have to put the www.
Yeah.
And then the phone number is 850-980-5824.
Perfect. And you're on social media too?
And we are very much on social media. We are, you can look us up on Instagram, and it would be parrot.head. You know how Instagram does it.
Mm-hmm.
On Facebook, it's Parrot Head Yacht. The S was dropped somehow, but if you look up Parrot Head Yacht, that's our business page. We are also, well, you'll see all kinds of things. If you subscribe to any of that, and then of course Google, but if you subscribe to any of that, you'll start seeing all kinds of things coming out. All of the little silly videos that we do and stuff, and it's a lot of things. There's always something. Every day, 3 or 4 times a day, we're posting something else.
Perfect.
So,
I'll have all the links to your social medias and website and stuff in the show notes. So if you guys want to check out Parrot Head Yachts, there you go. We'll tie it up at the end of the show. Just scroll down and check it out. It's in the description.
Fantastic.
All right, Larry.
This has been wonderful.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take care.